Welcome into another video. We are wrapping up our rookie rankings series with our top 5 quarterbacks. We've done wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. And we're talking all things Dynasty right now here. We got 6 quarterbacks to go through because somebody wanted to throw a little wrench in the whatever they call it. What's the saying there, Lucas? Help me out.
Wrench
in the plans. There we go. Wrench in the plans. And it was actually Lucas. He put Cade Klubnik at the 5 spot, the 4th round pick for the New York Jets. And we know, if you guys know Ryan, he's not gonna get overly excited about these Jets guys. What's got you hyped up about Cade Klubnik, man? What's got you so fired up about him?
So fired up, man. Just you gotta cool the Jets here. Oh, the Jets. There you go. Starting off with a nice punt. 4th round draft capital could have been worse. There's 3 rounds after that. And there was one game, I think it was like Cade Klubnik's first ever start or first ever game that he came in. Saw him throw a couple passes, and then I put in a Snapchat group chat, oh, this guy's going to be an NFL ball player. So I'm just really banking on myself.
Do we lose him?
That's all we needed from him for this video. That was awesome. All right, let's move to the real top 5.
Oh. Sorry guys, we're struggling to come up with 5 exciting things about these quarterbacks to talk about. But yeah, 4th round draft capital for Cade Klubnik to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, he was my biggest loser just because he did go to the Jets, but yeah. I actually thought of Klubnik as like just kind of a good potential QB2 in this league, someone that could stick around for a while as kind of like a high floor backup, just because I thought he showed a lot of those good traits. Has good size, mobility, decent arm, was once a pretty highly touted prospect. So I think he could stick around for a while as a backup. I just think the Jets are the worst possible place for that to happen. I thought if he went to like a Chiefs like Nussmeier did, or if he went somewhere where he could just learn how to be a quarterback, that would have greatly benefited him going forward.
Yeah, he's not going to start over Geno. I don't think this is going to be a player who, like, as bad as Geno is, we did see Brady Cook play this year, so you never know, I guess, in that aspect with the Jets. But I expect Geno to play if he's healthy. Klubnik, I don't see him getting playing time, and then we're talking about a team who's likely selecting a quarterback next year, and he's just gonna die on a roster. Klubnik could have gone into a better situation, and I would have bought some stock. I don't necessarily hate the player overall. Probably think he ended up being my QB5 pre-draft, and so it's not the end of the world, but I get it. He does have actually a potential chance to start this year and maybe prove something, but I don't know. I'm not buying it with the Jets. We can talk about, I know you're maybe a little bit more hardcore on the Jets hate than I am, but when it comes to Jets quarterbacks, I get very significantly scared. Lucas, can you hear us?
I gotcha.
There we go. We love it. Sorry, we didn't think you were there. We were just shitting on Cade Klubnik for.
I've heard it all. I've heard it all.
You've heard it all. The doubters, the haters. Let's get into Garrett Nussmeier. What did he end up going? Like 10 picks before the day was over. On day 3, we got him at the 5 spot, Ryan. Lucas has him off the list. I'm assuming it's because he was like the 10th quarterback taking, but he was my number 3 quarterback pre-draft process, and he got a good landing spot with the Chiefs. I think he's got a chance to learn for a few years and back up Patrick Mahomes, and then go, spread his wings somewhere else and potentially go battle for a starting spot.
Yeah, I think it's another guy who was a highly touted prospect, potential 1st round pick. And I think if there's anywhere that's going to help him realize that potential, even if that potential was overstated, it would be the Kansas City Chiefs. You get to learn an Andy Reid offense. You get to learn behind Patrick Mahomes. I think you're just shooting for, a guy that can just, taxi squad for 2 to 3 years and then maybe get an opportunity to start on a bad team probably, but on a team eventually down the road. And I think that's all you can ask for when it comes to this QB class.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough to rank a guy who's like got no path to starting on the team that he got drafted to. Like, yeah, there's a possibility where he builds some value up, gets traded, and finds a starting opportunity elsewhere. But in all likelihood, he's just going to ride the bench, try and make the team this year, and probably not turn into much. I do think it's unfortunate because I'm with you guys. Like, I think he was better than most of who we'll see on the list ahead of him, or who I do have on my list as a player and as a prospect. But I just, you got guys going in the 4th round who don't have a clear starting quarterback, and it's tough for me to put Nussmeier over guys like that.
No, and that's totally fair. Build your quarterback list how you like. I think that's a very valid point and very true. For me, I think like maybe in like 2 years, best case scenario, we're looking at like a Tyson Bagent situation for him, where he like balls in preseason. If he needs to come in and play for a little bit, he can, and he looks good. And then we have like trade rumors for him in like year 2 or year 3, maybe like a Jimmy Garoppolo situation. But Jimmy Garoppolo was also a 2nd round pick, so completely different storylines there. But that's like best case scenario, and I like the player, so I think that's why I'm just rolling with the upside on this one. This is really bad here. Like, this is worse than the tight ends. Like, we're really throwing darts at the board here. We should have did our top 2 quarterbacks. But let's move into one who doesn't. Here we go. Let's move into one that doesn't make my top 5, but he makes your guys. That's Carson Beck at your 4 spot on both. A clear path here for Carson Beck to be a potential starter, maybe in year 1 if the Jacoby Brissett contract situation doesn't get resolved. But the Aaron Rodgers rumors are floating out there. Lucas, we'll start with you. Carson Beck, your number 4 quarterback.
Yeah, I just think he's terrible. Like, he got 3rd round draft capital. He can be a starter year 1, but I just don't think that he's good at football. So cool. Like, he might score more points than some of the other guys on our list year 1, but it's going to be like, terrible stat lines, like worse than Josh Rosen. I don't think he's going to be an NFL starter for very long, or an NFL player for very long, to be honest. So, welcome to the league, Carson Beck.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that too. I didn't like this guy at all. He wasn't on my top 5 pre-draft. I don't think much of the player, but if you're looking for a guy who's like probably guaranteed to get a start, I mean, I think Carson Beck is going to start for the Cardinals multiple games this year. I think it's going to come towards the end of the season, but it's still going to come, and he's going to get that opportunity. And so that's more than you can say about most of these guys. And Arizona, if you're really thinking about it, Arizona's not a bad spot weapons-wise. He's going to have Jeremiah Love, Marv, Michael Wilson's a great player, McBride, obviously. So, like, maybe he's a productive enough fantasy player when he starts, but I just don't think he's going to be starting for long as well.
Yeah, I think that this is a team that's going to be drafting in a quarterback next year if all things go right for them. But I'm not a fan of the coaching hire there either. And I'm not a fan of the player really overall. And Carson Beck, I think that his arm is shot. The surgery, you could see that the arm strength is not what it used to be like it was at Georgia. Under pressure, he folds. I know that he's performed well in big moments, but if you muddy a Carson Beck pocket, all things go to shit. So, like, how great is their offensive line in Arizona? I don't know. I just don't see this working out in any way, shape, or form. I don't see a career going strong for him unless this guy's behind the Philadelphia Eagles and fucking Sean McVay is calling the plays. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line and Sean McVay is calling the plays. I don't see any career for Carson Beck. And I just, I'm not sitting here trying to shit on these guys, but we kind of have to. Like, that's why he's not on my list. We have to give you the God's honest truth. If you have 5 rounds like I do in all of my dynasty leagues, draft Carson Beck in the 4th round. What the hell does it matter? Why not? You got a 3rd round pick spent on him. So I guess that's how I see it. Whatever. Let's go ahead and get into our next one here. That's Taylen Green. Doesn't make the Lucas list, but he gets the 4th spot on mine, 3 spot on Ryan's, and I think he's probably on my list for different reasons than Ryan's, but I think he's like Joe Milton, and I was willing to take a upside swing on Joe Milton. Big arm, athletic, huge player, fluid mover, can throw the ball well at all 3 levels, but he's just got so many inconsistencies mechanics wise. I think Ryan why do you like Taylen Green so much?
Well, I was joking with you about the potential position change. That's not actually why I think he's the number 3 quarterback, but there probably is a pathway for him to be a receiver. Yes. But I will say as a quarterback, it's more so just like my fantasy philosophy. You guys know I was a huge Anthony Richardson guy. Last year, I was a huge Jalen Milroe guy. It's just something that I believe in when it comes to, fantasy quarterbacks, is that rushing really matters. And look, Taylen Green, if first off, it's the landing spot is what's mostly driving him up to me, because I think there is a potential pathway to starting games this year. And then when you mix that in with the fact that he's got this enormous rushing upside, like he's one of the best athletes in the entire NFL. And he's going to go in there and he's going to give you 50, 60 rushing yards. Even if he can't read a defense for the life of him, he can still give you 6-7 points just off of rushing. So I think that's immensely valuable. We forget didn't Justin Fields finish as like the QB5 one year? So it's like
have a championship because of it.
Yeah, you don't even have to be a good quarterback in real life. You just need to, get playing time. And I think this is a pathway for him to get playing time potentially this year and then showcase his rushing ability. And he could be somebody that you could legitimately start in your fantasy lineups, even if he sucks. And so that's why he's my quarterback 3.
Yeah, I have not been a big fan of those guys that you mentioned, Ryan, that, I think, the rushing upside is good, but when that's like kind of their core trait, like you're a rusher first, and I don't mean that in like a NFL player, like as a quarterback that they're rushing first necessarily, but like as a fantasy production type, if most of your value is going to come from your rushing upside, then you're probably not going to be, even if you have some solid games, you're probably not going to be a consistent starter in the league. And so it was a really interesting pick. Like they have such a crowded QB room, like there's no direction there. And I have no reason to believe that like he's going to be the cream that rises here. It's a fantastic athlete, like definitely some credit to there, but I don't see him starting games in the NFL.
Yeah, it's really just the traits for me. Like I love the size, I love the speed, and the huge arm. I wish he would have went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, because then I'd be fired up. Like, let's get Mike McCarthy. Give this guy Mike McCarthy, and let's see what he can do. But yeah, overall, crapshoot there as well. Same with this guy, Drew Allar, my number 3, Lucas's number 3, Ryan's number 30. He's not a fan of this guy whatsoever. For me, with Drew Allar, I talked about it in my winners and losers of the draft class, and it's the clear path to starting here, battling with Will Howard and Mike McCarthy. I like that. Mike McCarthy's got a good track record of quarterbacks. I'm willing to take a swing. This is a guy who is not in my top 5 quarterbacks pre-draft, but once you get past 2, once again, similar to the tight end class, you're kind of throwing darts at a board here, and I'm buying into the Mike McCarthy stock.
Yeah, and I know I didn't do the exercise with you guys in terms of like, their comps and their ability to reach those comps. I think that Drew Allar is one of those guys where I really think mechanics are a big part of his issues. Like he is that big body quarterback who highly regarded, had some really good games at Penn State before an injury last year, and then obviously didn't look great at all this year. I'll concede that, but I think that if there's a world out there where he gets some of his mechanics cleaned up, being with a guy like Mike McCarthy, who's been known to really develop quarterbacks from an early age here, it could be a guy who, with the pathway to starting, actually has some real upside here. So I think, going back to kind of how I opened this, going through that exercise of realistically how likely is he to reach that, I think odds are pretty low for Drew Allar that he really reaches whatever potential may be out there. But if he does, I think like he's got everything you look for in terms of a franchise quarterback, except for right now, some of the core things like accuracy and fundamentals. So there's a lot that needs to happen to get there, but I like what can come from it if it happens.
It's unfair that Lucas has a black screen, because me and Ryan are trying to keep straight faces over here. Oh yeah, you didn't know that your screen's black?
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh no, yeah, your screen's black actually pretty often for the videos, but that's okay. You know, you're here, but all they need to hear is your voice and your takes, man. You know, you serve good looks too. But Ryan, I was joking when you said, you know, Drew Allar is your number 30 quarterback, but you're not a big fan of Drew Allar.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's literally like Will Levis reincarnated. Like, I think this is the same exact player, just in terms of like, man, he is a dumb player. And that's probably the thing that I don't like the most out of a quarterback. Lucas said maybe he doesn't like quarterbacks that run first. Me personally, I don't like quarterbacks that have like this bad processing, like bozo gene, I like to call it, where it's like they just do the dumbest things in the worst possible times. I think Drew Allar is exactly that kind of player, like Will Levis. To be fair, I also did call Drake May that, so maybe he's somewhere in the middle of Will Levis and Drake May, but I think Drew Allar's not a great prospect. I think he's actually worse than Will Levis as a prospect. And I do agree that there is a pathway to starting on the Steelers, but it won't be for long. He's like, to me, he's such a developmental player because he's got all the size and traits, but he doesn't actually have the mechanics, accuracy, the processing ability. Like, he's a guy that has to sit and learn for 3 to 4 years. And I just don't see why a team would afford him that, you know, give him that time to sit and learn. He was third, fourth round pick. Like, he's not a high enough priority to give him that kind of time.
I think they took him in the third. And like another thing that is like the Steelers are kind of in a rush here. You know, the Mike McCarthy clock is ticking. The whole overall franchise clock is ticking. They have a very expensive, a very old defense. Like, they need to win, and they need to win now. So like, yeah, I can buy into the Mike McCarthy stock all I want, but I completely agree with you, and why I'm not putting too much stock into this is because the clock is ticking here. You know, he doesn't have 3 to 4 years like I do think he needs, and I think you nailed it on the head. This is a guy who's going to need a few seasons to really sit, learn, and watch from the bench, watch from afar, and they don't have that in Pittsburgh. So, like I said, throwing darts at a board here after 2, it gets pretty bad. Let's go ahead and touch on number 2, though. The shocker of draft night, the number 13 overall pick, Les Snead's boy, Ty Simpson. And Ryan, me and you talked about him as a winner of the draft class, obviously. Go ahead and touch on that for us.
Yeah, so it's a perfect situation here. You get to sit and learn from Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, 2 Hall of Famers. Gets to potentially take over an offense that'll have Puka Nacua. That's going to, you know, seemingly be pretty high powered for the long run. I think that he's going to be at worst like a Bo Nix type of player, where it's like, okay, maybe he's not the most talented or gifted, but he's just in such a great system that he can't really fail with the play calling that he has. And I think he offers that same kind of size, build, mobility that Bo Nix does. So that actually probably be a pretty good comp, in my opinion. The only thing that really does scare me is just like how the whole draft process went down, with like maybe Sean McVay not being as bought in, maybe the GM kind of went rogue, but you know, otherwise, once he gets the opportunity to start, I think as long as Sean McVay's there, he's going to be a starting quarterback in Dynasty and in fantasy football for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, it's so hard not to put him as the immediate 2 now. I think there probably wasn't a question beforehand. I think he was probably consensusly still number 2 on everyone's board, but the boost is like this. We're talking about a whole different player now, like a 2nd-round pick to a whole different franchise like the Cardinals. We're talking about ADP of probably similar to what Jackson Dart was kind of going last year. He was a late 1st-round pick for the Giants. He was going like 16, 17. Now we are talking about a potential 1st-round pick in this class of 2026 because it's not a phenomenal class. We are talking about Ty Simpson maybe being a 1st-round pick. So the boost was significant, and I agree with you. I would say the only thing that worries me maybe about, like, the one thing I'm maybe more confident in Bo Nix is the experience that Bo Nix had. He had like 6 years of college starting experience, but Ty Simpson will be able to get that through a lot of preseason reps. Matt Stafford is not playing preseason football. Ty Simpson will be able to gain that over the years. You know, I still think that we're looking at 2 years of Matt Stafford football, so he'll be able to get preseason reps. I'm sure if they're blowing teams out, he'll get on the field and just watching and learning, because I do think for his lack of experience, he still learned a lot at Alabama. This is a guy who was sitting and riding the bench for quite some time. He came in and he was a really good processor. He threw the ball with anticipation. There just needs to be a lot more reps with his mechanics. Needs to be a lot more reps overall. You saw when the competition level rose for him in the second half of the season. We were talking about a Heisman candidate in that first half. Competition level rose. He really started to struggle. So I still think that it just showed that he's still a few years away, but perfect landing spot. I think if Arizona was to land him at like 34, we would be throwing up right now. Like, we'd be sick to our stomachs about it.
Yeah, no, with only like 10 games of starting experience, the number one thing he needs is to sit and learn. So this is perfect. He's not going to be thrusted into a situation. Arizona would have been terrible, or Pittsburgh, because he would not have been ready. And we've seen that ruin careers a lot. Like, my original comparison was Mitchell Trubisky. And I think if you gave Mitchell Trubisky, Sean McVay, and 3 years to learn, I think he would have been a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's on the money, Mitch Trubisky here. Like, there's things and there's traits that stand out to you that maybe, Ryan Pace was way too high on. I don't think you go back and watch the UNC tape. It was good, but it's like, holy shit, we took this over Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like, we took this over Mahomes college tape, which he was a lot more raw, but I was like, you guys watch that tape? I was only 17 years old at the time, but go look at that shit. That shit was nuts. But yeah, very similar here. Let's go ahead and get into number one, though. Clear and obvious, Fernando Mendoza, the number one pick of the entire draft class. We've touched on it time and time again, Ryan. We've talked about Fernando Mendoza a bunch. I've touched on all the Raiders stock. It's hard. Now, the kind of thing I want to get into we could talk about this more in the mock draft, but what is his absolute low of a draft pick in Dynasty? That's what we'll touch on, because we could sit here and talk all day about all the things that Mendoza does well. You've heard it a million times. You got the Kubiak pairing, which I'm a huge fan of. But what's his absolute low that he should go in Dynasty drafts?
Yeah, so me personally, I think it's the 104, which would be a lot different than some people, because based on what I've been seeing, like, a lot of people have him falling to like the 107 in some drafts, 106, 107. They think Jadarian Price has jumped them. They think Lemon to Jordan Tyson, because these guys are going to be, wide receiver, running back. They look at a lot of people like to, especially in the Dynasty community, they like to look at like hit rates and like, oh, if you're a first round running back, you're 70% chance to succeed and deliver value, or a top 10 pick at wide receiver. But I think you kind of miss the player when you do things like that. You miss the actual evaluation of the player. And I think Mendoza's going to such a great spot here just to learn from, all-time great Tom Brady, to sit behind Kirk Cousins for a little bit, to, Clint Kubiak, one of the best offensive young minds. The offensive line got rebuilt. Ashton Genty's there. Brock Bowers is there. So it's like so many good things are going right for Mendoza. And I think so highly of him as a prospect, to the point where it's like, I don't see why he should go any less than the 104 if you wanted to sneak Jordan Tyson in there. But me personally, I wouldn't take him less than the 103, but the ultimate floor would be 104.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. My absolute low for him is 103, and it would have been 102 had not Carnell Tate gone number 4 overall. Now you can make an argument for it. And this is strictly speaking if you're in a two quarterback or a super flex, which most dynasty leagues are. If you're in a one quarterback, then I could definitely see like 106, 107 with Tyson, Lemon, Jadarian Price, Love, Tate, all those guys. But for me, absolute lowest for Fernando Mendoza with the talent, all that's going right in Las Vegas, it's got to be the 103. I'm not taking Tyson. I'm not taking Lemon over him. I think Tate, for sure, you can make that argument now. Maybe even say it's a done deal, depending on your roster. But we'll talk about that more in the mock draft. But I just want to get that out of the way. Where are we seeing him now? Where's our ADP landing with Mendoza at this point of the draft process? But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Lucas's phone died, so we lost him for the last two quarterbacks. But it was
obvious, though.
It was so obvious. Me and Ryan got it handled from there. Next week, we are going to have our rookie mock draft for the season. And by the end of this month, we are going to have a 15 to 20 round startup mock. That's something that me, Lucas, and Ryan are going to start doing every year. We're going to do a new startup mock because it changes every year, Ryan.
Yeah,
you got to have a new startup. You got to have a new startup mock draft every single season because it changes and varies so much.
It's cool to track like how the difference, even just looking at our rankings from last year. Like I remember I put Josh Jacobs in our top 10 running backs. We both had like Saquon Barkley in our top 5. It just goes to show like how much changes in a year. And yeah, that'd be a really interesting thing to track.
Oh yeah. I'm excited like to just when we get into that, because that's going to be more of our July and August content when we get into the heat of it, when things are starting to spice up. Right now, we're more focused on rookies, startups, and rookie mock drafts. But July and August is when we'll really start getting into the Dynasty rankings. And I think about Ladd McConkey was in my top 10.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if any rookies from last year slide their way into the top 10. How far does Jainty fall? Because I think we were all at Jainty as like
number 2 or 3. Yeah,
2 or 3. So we're gonna does Love surpass Jainty? It's gonna be interesting to see where our rankings come July and August. But right now we're more rookie based, startup, and overall mock draft rookie based. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good shit. Plenty of Dynasty content coming down the barrel still. But that wraps up our rookie ranking. Shout out Ryan. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.